Hello everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About, the show where I ramble on about various video game topics. And today's subject is crossover video games and Project Cross Zone 2. Now, I actually recently completed Project Cross Zone 2 for the 3DS, but I didn't want to do a game reflections episode of it because it wouldn't be the same quality as some of the other ones I've done. So I just thought I'd give some thoughts on it right here. Now, I love the first Project Cross Zone. So the spectacle of the whole thing is the main draw. It's basically tons of characters from Namco, Sega, and Capcom all meeting up with each other and trying to fight this evil organizations that's trying to unify all the different universes together. It has a sort of strategy RPG element to it, but it's actually not that difficult, and you rarely actually have to strategize. It's more the spectacle of the whole thing, because when you actually do fight with the characters, it's almost plays more like a fighting game. You have to try to hit your opponents and keep them off the ground as long as possible and extend your combos to do more damage. It's a fun system, and the battles don't really ever get old, at least not for me. It's always fun to try to chain different skills together, and then you also get like support units who are like a single character that you can call in for help, and like you can call in for other teams who are close by to you. So you can get stuff like cross hits, which allow you to do even more damage, and it builds up your cross gauge, which allows you to do super moves with your characters and like defend against enemy super attacks and stuff. It's a fun system, and Project Cross Zone 2, for the most part, pretty much does the same thing. But I do like the changes they made for the gameplay in this. So now you only have 3 attacks available for each character team. Before, in the first game, you could just wail on them until you used up all your attacks, but now you need to think a little bit more in, like, do you want to just hit them with the harder, heavy attacks, or do you want to hit them with, like, status effects, like stuns and poison? Initially, I was surprised to discover that, but I actually, in retrospect, I like that a bit better, because you have to think more about how you're going to try to take down the enemies. Also, the way cross hits happen in Project Cross Zone 2 is a little different, in that in the first game, if you kept hitting on the opponent and all the other characters were still hitting on it, the cross hit would keep going. In Project Cross Zone 2, it still activates, but if you hit them enough while the cross hit's still going, you do a cross break, which does tons of damage, and it like sends the opponent flying, and then it sets up for like more combos and stuff. So the fighting system in this game is very dynamic, and it's lots of fun to try to take down as much of the opponent's insanely big health bars as you can. Now, of course, the gameplay of Project Cross Zone 2 is fun, and I really enjoy it. But the main draw for me is just the crossover elements. I love all the video game characters interacting with each other, and some of the dialogue they have is hilarious. And then you also have the 2 original characters for this crossover series, Reggie and Xiaomu. And I have to say, especially in Project Cross Zone 2, Xiaomu is the main star of the show. She is so funny. It had me laughing so hard in almost every mission she's in. She makes all these pop culture references and like other video game related jokes that, unless you're really well versed in all these different things, you might not get some of them. But the ones that she does get, like, it's great stuff. It's so funny. The story, like, it is funny, and it does have like more tense moments, obviously, but because they're trying to stop this world-ending catastrophe. And the ending of Project Cross Zone 2 is a little more conclusive. At least that's the way it seemed to me. It seemed like this could be the end of the series, and I'd be perfectly okay with that, because it was a very solid ending. And one thing I'd also like to add is the main story quest takes about 45 hours, and that's actually 10 hours shorter than the first Project Cross Zone. And normally I don't mind long games, but I felt the first Project Cross Zone, one of my few nitpicks about it was it felt like it went on a bit too long. There are some missions that kind of felt repetitive and a little monotonous, because like I felt like I already did this battle before. And like, so there are some like filler missions, so to speak. And while it's still fun, like you're kind of, at that point, you're like, I just want to see how this ends. And thankfully, Project Cross Zone 2 doesn't draw itself out too long. So you still get like some fun, silly side missions, like one where you go to an amusement park called Marvel Land, not to be mistaken with the Marvel Land that the character Valkyrie is from. It was all funny stuff like that. I love both the Project Cross Zone games, but I have to say I enjoyed the Project Cross Zone 2 a bit more. I just love all the different characters, and if you have any love for the Sega, Namco, and Capcom characters, you'll probably enjoy this game. At least give it a gander, because there's some really cool stuff in it. So there's a lot of fun stuff. Just all the different character combinations you can do, and all the unique banter they have with each other based on who's teamed with who. It's always fun to explore and hear what everyone has to say. So Project Cross Zone 2 was a lot of fun, and I'm going to segue into, as long as we're talking about crossovers, I want to just briefly touch on the crossover games, because they are probably one of my favorite types of video games out there. The most popular, obviously, being Super Smash Bros. I know in the more competitive scene, it's kind of been a bit rocky, but at least in the more casual party sense, Super Smash Bros. Is loads of fun. Jigglypuff has been my main character from the get-go, and that shows no signs of changing because she's so much fun to use. Then I also love some other great crossovers, like Marvel vs. Capcom. That's always loads of fun. And then I would also argue that Aliens vs. Predator is still the best as far as video game goes. The comics are probably a close second. And then I also really like some maybe less popular crossover games like PlayStation All-Stars, which I still think is loads of fun, and MK vs. DC. So as you can probably tell, I really do love crossover titles. They're always lots of fun to see how the different characters from all these different franchises interact with each other and how they work together and team up. It's all great stuff. So hopefully we'll see more crossover titles in the future, because I always think those are a good old time. But in the meantime, I really enjoyed the newest crossover title, Project Cross Zone 2, and I probably will play it again eventually, because I did have a very good time with it. So if you're at all interested in it, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's good fun. What's your favorite crossover video game out there? Feel free to share in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you're feeling particularly awesome, please subscribe. Until next time, keep having great adventures, everyone.